Hey guys, Levelcap here, and welcome to This Week in Gaming, your weekly news recap on everything going on in the world of video games. And I've got an exciting recap for you today because we got our first official look at Battlefield 6. Splitgate 2 blew up in a bad way, Microsoft backed down from increasing their game pricing, and much more. Yesterday, EA officially revealed Battlefield 6 with a cinematic trailer featuring extensive in-game footage from the game's campaign. The game includes maps set in New York City, Cairo, Gibraltar, with potential hints of a battle royale map set in California. One of the biggest highlights of the trailer was the incredible destruction and overall grittier tone. As an old-school fan of the franchise, I really enjoyed the trailer, and that seems to be the overall community sentiment, is general enjoyment but not overhyped. And it's possible that DICE's past with the Battlefield franchise is starting to catch up with their present. Comparing the hype of, say, the Battlefield 1 trailer, which was EA's most successful marketing campaign for any Battlefield game, this one pales in comparison. Battlefield 1 was dropping at a point where DICE's previous Battlefield game was Battlefield 4, a fan favorite, so many players were really excited about the next game. It was doing World War I, which was a very risky experiment, but the trailer absolutely slapped, had a great theme song, and everybody seemed to gravitate towards this new take on it. The Battlefield 6 trailer feels more like an homage to the Battlefield 3 era of gaming, which was one of my favorite eras, but it's not quite as exciting or, say, head-turning compared to what Battlefield 1 offered. Hopefully the popularity of the trailer won't be a direct translation into sales, considering EA's extremely lofty goals for their sales mark, at least the mark that was leaked. Now, the trailer itself was pretty light on specific details like launch dates and gameplay info. However, based on what's been released so far, we can infer that the game won't be coming to the last-gen consoles like PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. It's currently only available for wishlisting on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series consoles. EA's official legal disclaimer also aligns with leaks suggesting that the game will launch on October 10th. Leaks further indicate that a potential open beta could start on August 4th. Recently, gameplay footage from playtesting has been surfacing online, showing a much more polished version of the game than previously seen. And I'll be heading to LA to play Battlefield 6 on July 31st, which is also the official multiplayer reveal date. So stay tuned to my channel for a more in-depth look at multiplayer and potentially more information about the game's other modes. The Splitgate 2 saga has taken another turn. 1047 Games CEO announced the game is going back into beta to address a litany of issues, such as its focus on heroes and abilities, the lack of portals, overpriced cosmetics, bloated game modes, and more. In a double blow, the announcement also revealed that the original Splitgate, now averaging fewer than 500 concurrent players a day on Steam, is being shut down because the operating cost of those servers is costing the studio between $40,000 and $50,000 a month. The community's reaction seems to be a mixture of frustration, a complete lack of surprise, some people praising them for putting it back in a beta and doing the right thing, but overall I'm getting a pretty strong sense of doubt from the community. Leading up to the game's release, Splitgate 2's marketing was a bit confusing, trying to prop itself up as the shooter to save gamers from mediocrity, where in fact many of the features in Splitgate 2 were incredibly derivative. The player base plummeted shortly after launch, with over 90% of players leaving within 2 weeks. And while comebacks of similar games losing a lot of their player base at launch but gaining them back later, Gray Zone Warfare certainly comes to mind, it's still a sad turn of events for fans of the original game who hoped for a sequel that would double down on the best features of the original. Developers working on future content have been laid off while the studio refocuses on fixing the core game. Elden Ring Nightreign just passed a major milestone, selling over 5 million units since launch. This was announced alongside details for the game's next patch, which will add 2-player co-op, a much requested feature that players were hoping for prior to launch. It's great to see these features getting added so quickly. Microsoft is backing down from its $80 pricing for The Outer Worlds 2. The game's developer announced on social media that they negotiated with their publishers and Xbox to drop the price to $70. As the global economy enters a period of uncertainty, game publishers like Rockstar, Gearbox, and Microsoft have pushed prices for first-party titles well beyond the usual $60, citing inflation and the increasing cost of game development. It's been speculated that GTA 6 may capitalize on its massive hype hype to set a new precedent for $100 game launches. One thing's for sure though, I think studios are going to set the price point at wherever they think they can make the most money. So you set it too high and the economy's not doing well and people can't buy your game. So generally speaking, the overall state of the economy is probably going to dictate game prices. Despite a few controversial statements from the studio CEO, a rough beta launch that raised extensive concerns from players, and virtually no marketing for the official launch, Killing Floor 3 is apparently a hit. It launched with over 27,000 concurrent players on Steam, beating the previous entry Killing Floor 2 by more than 7,000 players. The developers have laid out an extensive roadmap for the third game, including fixes based on beta feedback, new maps, weapons, challenges, and more. Itch.io is the latest game platform to fold under pressure from payment processors regarding adult and sexual content in games. They announced this week that they have to de-index games labeled as not safe for work across the entire site while they audit their catalog to ensure compliance with payment processors including Visa and PayPal. These new compliance demands recently hit Steam as well, forcing Valve to remove hundreds of games. The source of this newfound concern over adult games seems to be a push from anti-porn organizations like Collective Shout, which have routinely targeted games like Grand Theft Auto for their sexual themes and content. And while some of their concerns about extreme content could be valid, their position is largely viewed as opportunistic censorship that could eventually affect less extreme content. Payment processors in general have become more stringent about which sites can use their services, especially as platforms like OnlyFans has risen in popularity. And while there are payment services that cater to not safe for work platforms and content, their fees are generally much higher than industry norms. Action soccer game Rematch got its first major patch this week, addressing several technical issues such as hit detection, netcode, controller remapping, crashes, animations, and more. The game was praised at launch for its fresh gameplay that feels rewarding and deep despite bugs that affected match outcomes. Following its sudden cancellation by Riot Games, Hytale might not be gone for good. This game was an upcoming survival crafting experience similar to Minecraft, but with a stronger emphasis on RPG and narrative content. The studio behind the game, Hypixel, was shopping the project around to other publishers to keep development going, but was unable to secure a deal before Riot pulled the plug. However, the studio's co-founder is looking to buy the rights to the game from Riot and continue looking for a publisher. Recent tweets from him cryptically suggested that he might be making progress, though given the game's lengthy development time and massive cost, it's unclear if it'll ever be finished. In our final story this week, Double Fine Games honored the legacy of the late Ozzy Osbourne by making their action-adventure music RPG Brutal Legends free to play for 666 minutes. This followed Ozzy Osbourne's death, which occurred on July 22nd. Ozzy is featured throughout the game as two NPCs alongside other music icons. Ozzy performed his final show just weeks before his passing in a massive stadium event that raised nearly $200 million for multiple charities, including research for Parkinson's disease, the condition that ultimately claimed his life. And that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. If you guys are enjoying this news coverage, don't forget to drop me a like, subscribe for more content like it. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Battlefield 6 reveal and if you're excited to see more of the multiplayer content. And up next, check out my impressions of the Battlefield 6 reveal here. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.